that intro. Hey, welcome back. We're Sit Rep Podcast back here live from Adepticon. We're over at the Hyatt with the historical crew, and joining us is Dr. Steve Fratt. And Steve, you've got a couple of game systems that you have invented, written, published.
Yep.
And why don't you share a little bit about those systems and what you've got going on here at Adepticon this year?
Okay. Well, proud to say that Small Deadly Space has been published by On Military Matters, and the convention face is the Winged Hussar. And so they're sold out. That's good. I have a few. So what I've done is, in previous years when we were at the Little Wars, we talked about how my game run. It finally is now published. And it's published with the scenario and all you need to do the second day of Gettysburg in full color. And the production values are beyond my expectations. It's just, I'm really jazzed about their work.
And if you find that the book is beautiful and you don't want to tear it up, just photocopy it, and then you can cut all your chits and pieces and nameplates out.
Yeah, all the stuff in the back is meant to be photocopied so that you can mount them on magnets and use them as we do in the game.
Awesome. So, are we running Small and Deadly Space this weekend?
What we're doing this year is we're doing Napoleonics. So I have a first edition Napoleonic game in 2015. And after doing the Civil War and the reception it's received, this whole year we're going back to Napoleonics and doing a second edition to have an equivalent for Napoleonics. They're going to call it The Victory Is Ours. Taking off from the Guard's favorite tune at the end of the battle when they say the victory is ours. If you've seen the Waterloo movie with Rod Steiger and Christopher Plummer, when the Guard is attacking, the tune is the victory is ours. And they played it at the end of Leading. The last victory of the Guard, they played that too. So anyway, it's
nice science. Yeah, I see what you did there.
So what we're doing here is we have, I'm doing two things. We're doing a hex version of my rules, and that came out of Command and Colors with hexes and all that. So I thought, well, let's stick with Command and Colors. I'm going to make it better. And I thought, well, I'll make modify it from GMT. And then I thought, wait a minute. Let's just use my rules and do a hex version. So we're doing that here. It's Waterloo. And then I'm doing Leany and Quatre Bras with the non-hex version of The Victory Is Ours. But then I decided to make a change for Little Wars. I'm going to have everything be Austerlitz because we're realizing as we're playing at this convention, we need more elbow room. We need more players. And the Austerlitz battle gives us that elbow room. So in a month I'm going home making that switch, and we'll be doing it
a little more linear, and it gives you more room to maneuver,
less unit density
on the battlefield, as well as I was going to say smaller model count of people.
Yeah, exactly that. For the hex game, I'm using the Wolfon figures, the 10mm acetate flats, the gorgeous Peter Dennis and his art, and Wolfon has really taken off. Worlds of fun. They have 28 mil, 18 mil, 10 mil, and you just buy a sprue, punch it out, slide it in. I put magnets underneath, and it's just really amazing the stuff that they have.
A little bit lighter than what you normally carry around?
Typically a little bit lighter.
Yeah, not sponsored by Wolfon, but we're willing. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
SitRepPodcast@gmail.com. But seriously, as Chris was saying, one of the things I don't think people think about is the logistics behind running a game, putting a game on, and your one-man show. When it comes to doing this, and hauling around those boxes of lead versus your much fewer boxes of acrylic. Makes it a lot easier for you.
Yeah, it does. It does. Nevertheless, to run 3 games of, we hope, high quality, that's 26 banker boxes. So we got to use the van. And so I had a van incident I can't believe this.
Yeah.
We set up the game, the van pulled in, and as it pulled in, we got a flat, a catastrophic flat. So I spent about 6 hours yesterday going around this and that. We live just an hour away, Gurnee. So that was an adventure within the adventure. But
And yet all the games are going off.
the games
That's
are
what
going
counts.
on, yes. And but then hauling around, I'm going to be taking him to other conventions. I realize we're going to need a band. We're going to need a band to do that. So there's tremendous effort, and the quality of the games in the room is just phenomenal. And even the skirmish games, they got huge amounts of scenery. The effort that people put on. Back in the 60s, we bought Airfix figures, mounted them on cardboard, and played our games with, felt and, stuff like that.
We had our tables and we liked it.
In fact, I just remembered the troops I painted up, my Napoleonic troops, Mark Ross 5 mil, they're 50 years old.
Wow.
50 years
They're
old.
almost as old as I am.
Can't believe it.
So, playing a game now, we said you got some games going off,
Yes.
and you've got your Small and Deadly Space. Reader's Digest version, 30,000 foot snapshot.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that game plays. What's
So
the activation and the turns look like for that game?
The highlights that stand out about it is artillery. You don't have to measure and fire. Artillery always hits, and I've learned this from reenacting and research. Artillery always hits, whether it's Civil War or Napoleonic. They can see where their shells and ammo lands, so they always hit. Usually in games, you got to roll to see if you can even hit someone. They hit. Well, what's the response? The enemy checks their morale. So that's a big part of the game. The other part of the game is I have leaders with staff. And the staff guys, you send them out during movement so a unit can take a rogue approach. Not straightforward, but a rogue approach. Those staff members rally the troops. And the rallying's easy. You send a staff member, you rally up one level. You don't have to dice for it. They come up. And then in battle, if you're going into a close action, you got to test your morale. If you fail, your guys will waddle up for a firefight. You can accept that, or take a staff member, send them in, and you get to re-roll to see if you're going in. And then once you're in a combat and you're doing your die roll, you have to take your dice, the enemy's die, they're different-sided, roll them. You need a 2-to-1 or better to defeat the foe, and then they retreat according to the magnitude of the loss. Well, if you get 1-to-1, it's a firefight, unless you send a staff member to re-roll it. So the leadership value of this, simple with the staff members, really makes it a different kind of game.
That's an interesting mechanic.
What was Civil War is carrying over into Napoleonic as well. The big difference with the Napoleonic game is large amounts of cavalry on the battlefield. And so with cavalry, what I do is the cavalry unit sends in a wave. And if they don't get that 2-to-1 victory, they rally back. The next wave goes in. If they don't get it, they rally back. All the other waves they get the best the best morale that they started with. And if you abort, those units that weren't committed still have that good morale, and the other guys are just kind of milling around behind until you take a turn to rally the whole unit. So I figured out easy way to throw cavalry in the way it should be. With my game, instead of rolling a die and having all these modifiers to get a result, you're actually watching the battle commence. Waves of cavalry are going in. We're doing extra die rolls, but it's meaningful, and we get rid of the law of the need for charts because it's intuitive and visual.
My man, that's what I'm talking about. Get rid of the
Handful,
charts.
you overlap, you got negative modifiers, but the modifiers are maybe a handful, and they're common sense, so they're easy to remember. So anyway, the cavalry, it's very exciting to see the cavalry go in, and then I have cavalry can be in reserve, and at the end of all close action, if they're within reach, they can counterattack, and we extend a lot of cavalry action in Napoleonic games because it was on the field.
Can I get
So
the
that's
one
a
that's filled with
distinction.
candy?
So I see that not only do you have your small and deadly space rule
Yes.
set with you, but you brought something else. So tell us what else you've got.
Yeah, so I like tank battles. Okay, so this is a sketch, an initial sketch that I've published, Panzerfrat. Okay, what I've done is I've taken my different colored dice, and I use it in two ways. I've watched all these tank games, even Tractics. I remember Tractics. In fact, I hear someone's coming up with Tractics again. I mean, that's a really dense set of rules from the 70s that's maybe being revived. Realism is not a function of the ballistics and the guns and all of that. Realism across military history needs to be the psychological aspect of the human being. So, how do I deal with that in tanks? These dice, different colored dice, represent smaller number of sides, larger number of sides, better troops. So 500 yards, you roll your die, and if you get 6, you hit the unit, you hit the target. If you don't hit the target, we stop the need for calculations because you didn't hit the target. Most rules say you roll, you hit, and what's the damage, and you do it all in one. I'm speeding things up. If you don't hit your target, you're done with that unit. You go to the next one. If you hit your target, then what you do is each gun and armor is rated according to the number of sides you get on your die. So let's say a 30 millimeter gets a 6-sided die, a 75 millimeter gets a 10-sided blue die. So when you roll to see if you hit, let's say the 75 is the gun, 30 mil is the armor. You're rolling a blue 10-sider versus a yellow 6-sider. You roll the dice. If the blue 10-sider gets 2 to 1 or better, they penetrate. If not, it's a miss. And then you can modify that with a handful of modifiers. So I'm trying to create a fast tank battle that has the feel of realism. And what I've yet to add to it is artillery and infantry. Once I do that, this book will end up being like this book. So maybe at the end of the year, I'll have something in larger size.
Very nice. So if somebody was looking to see or purchase a set of your rolls, where would they find you?
So the way to find Small Deadly Space on Military Matters or the Wayne Bazaar. And you could get a really, I can't beat this quality. Get directly from them, $58, 172 pages. And for me, this I'm selling for $15. Frattspiel Games.
Frattspiel Games.
At gmail.com.
Awesome. So what events could people expect to see you in your games at this year?
Yeah. So we are showing the flag. We're going to be at Little Wars in a month, and I'm going to switch Waterloo and Contrebrod to all Austerlitz. I'll do that in a month. We'll show up with Austerlitz. And then we're going to be at Origins this coming June.
All right.
And we will bring the dog and pony show to that. And then we'll be at Historicon in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, at the end of July. And along the way, my arm's been twisted to redo our double-blind midway game in the first weekend in June. Years ago on HMGS, we did that. We ran that against the Surface Warfare Command Staff at Great Lakes, right over here in Chicago, in North Chicago. And we played a double-blind game of Midway on the 75th anniversary.
Very nice.
And we came to a draw, but I was dissatisfied with how that went, so I'm redesigning the rules to make it play better. So we're doing that again, and we're getting recruits at Little Wars for that.
If somebody thinks that's a really cool game and they want to get in on it, where and when is that game?
It'll be in Woodstock. It'll be the first weekend in June. And the best thing to do is get in touch with me if you're interested. And eventually, I'll be publishing those rules too for GMs.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Steve, we appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing how your adventures go. It seems like you've got a full dance card this summer.
Yep.
So we hope that there's no more flat tires involved.
Yep, please.
And with that, I'm Marty, the Sit Rep Podcast.
I'm Chris.
That's been Chris and our good friend Steve. And we'll see you in the next video.